Good morning. It is February 19th, 2022, and today is Butcher Day. And you may have seen a video before about the red broilers that I purchased in October from Vally Farms Hatchery. And I ended up with 18 of them, I think, and 11 of them were roosters. And so they are getting at 16 weeks. They're eating some scraps from the kitchen. I cleaned out my refrigerator this morning. So that's what they're eating. But last night, I pinned up, I got 6 or 7 of the roosters. They're about 16 weeks in here. And I will be butchering them today. And I put them in here with enough food and water for the evening so that they don't have their gullets full of half-digested food when I butcher them. So they are hungry this morning, but they are going to be butchered. And I will show you right over here my butcher station I've got set up. So I have my ice chest with some ice in it. I've got my gut bucket. I've got my poultry shears and a meat cleaver and knife over there. So I will be using the cone method to dispatch these roosters, and then I'll be skinning them and putting them in the cooler for a couple days. And I do all this myself. And after they've brined in the cooler for a couple of days on ice, I will be cutting these up and canning them. And then more than likely I'll be doing the raw can method, but I'll assess that when I get to it. And then I'll be taking all the carcasses and backs and necks, and I'll put them in my roasting oven, my 18-quart roasting oven, and making some bone broth with the rest of the carcasses. So I will bring you back in a few when we get ready to do the butchering and show you the cone method, and hopefully be able to set up my tripod and show you me but actually skinning out a couple of these roosters. Alright, well, we'll see you in a little bit. Okay, real quick, I wanted to show you what I was doing in the greenhouse. So this morning for breakfast, I have bought a couple of these Cubanelle peppers, these huge Cubanelle peppers from my local market that has locally grown vegetables, produce. It's at my IGA, and they have a lot of locally grown produce that they sell at the store. Beans, corn, vegetables, all that kind of thing. And I purchased a couple of these, and they were $1.87 for 2 of them. And the seeds that I planted this year for my Cubanelle peppers did not come up. So I decided to just plant these seeds so that I can grow some of these. And these are really delicious peppers, and they are a lot less expensive than bell peppers at the store. So I'm just putting a bunch of them in there. I put some in there in this little container here, and I'm just gonna sprinkle some of my seed starting medium over the top, press it down, and then water them. And I'll probably just save the rest of the seeds. But I got 2 things of Cubanelle peppers going here. And then here, I had mentioned in another video that I was going to try some bread seed poppy. So I just got this out of my pantry as an experiment. Should work. Just trying it out because there's about a gillion bread seed poppies, and I did look at the flowers on Etsy where they were selling bread seed poppy seeds, and they were a really beautiful poppy flower. So that's what I'm doing there. And then up here you can see all my peppers. I transplanted them a couple days ago, and they are all starting to jump. And then I'll just show you a quick sneak peek of everything that's going on here. I up-potted all of my, not all of, but a bunch of my tomatoes that were ready. There's my chocolate cherry sunflowers. And then here's some more peppers. And then all of these up here in the front, I up-potted tomato plants. And then there's a bunch of tomato plants back there. Marigolds. And then down here, I've got my flowers. And here is the black swan poppy seeds that I bought from Baker Creek that are coming along here. And those seeds look exactly like the seeds I just planted. And then here are my early Jersey cabbage that I've got to plant out pretty soon. I also need to transplant this lettuce today. And then down here, we planted corn. We got our corn started. Cherokee White Eagle and Painted Mountain Corn from Baker Creek. And then over here, we're trying to start some squash. This is some FM, which Ferry Morris spaghetti squash, Ferry Morris gray zucchini, Alexandria squash from Hoss Tools, some Wando zucchini from Ferry Morris, some spring burpless cucumbers, some Ferry Morris golden zucchini, some Illinois squash from Baker Creek, and some tasty green cucumbers back there. More tasty green cucumbers. And then right here is the Damien super sweet corn from Baker Creek. Some more of that Painted Mountain corn from Baker Creek. And then I have rattlesnake pole beans, golden butter wax bush beans from Baker Creek. Some more tomatoes, rattlesnake pole beans, more of the golden butter wax bush beans there. Some Kentucky Wonder pole beans, and some of the Damien KS super sweet corn from Baker Creek at the end. So that's what's going on in this greenhouse real quick, and then I will take you over. We're going to get ready to get started on butchering the red broiler roosters. Alright, we're fixing to catch the first rooster and bring him over to the cone. My sidekicks are out here helping me. My son, who's done this many times. He's usually the one that is in charge of catching, and he'll cut the head off and he'll let it bleed out while he goes and gets the next one, and then he'll bring me the one that's in the cone and do a whole rotation like that. So you may have seen our turkey cone video. We might have to check and see if this is set up for a turkey or a chicken right now. Probably a chicken, because it's been a long time, a couple years since we've done a turkey. Okay. So he's in the cone, and we just made this cone out of a piece of metal. Just gonna pull the neck through. Do it as close to the head as you can so we can keep most of that neck for when he's bleeding out. And then I'll bring you over here when we get ready to butcher. So real quick, I just wanted to kind of give you more of a visual of the size of these roosters. They are about 4 months now, and they are not going to have, I can tell by just feeling of them that they're not going to have a lot of breast to them, but we'll see that once we get them all dressed out, what their carcass looks like. I'm going to be saving the other half, about 5 more that we have, for another couple of weeks, let them get a little bit bigger. We put him upright and see. Flip him around where his head's up.
Oh, you're talking about this.
Yeah, so that's about how big he is at 16 weeks, and these are the red broilers, and they were very healthy, vigorous chickens, and they act like a regular chicken. I'm not really impressed by their growth rate, but they aren't supposed to be like the Cornish X, but I was expecting them to be a little bit more breastier at this point, but we're going with it now. So we'll bring you back when we get ready to butcher the one that's been bleeding out. It's my big girl doing her big job. She is getting the ones that have bled out and bringing them over here and throwing them on the table. So everybody got a job. And here in a second will be starting to dress these out. And the first one, you can tell, is actually a little bit bigger than the second one. So with these broilers, they're never consistently sized. But I've been told that with the homesteading, what people want to see the most is the processing, because that is the part that people have the most issue with. Everybody is eager to plant the gardens and start growing the animals and everything like that, but when it gets down time to eat the animals, they don't know what to do, or they don't know if they've got the gumption or the courage to dispatch a chicken or a pig or a rabbit. And so I am just showing this whole process of our red broilers to get people aware that once you get adapted to this environment and you get used to doing those first couple of chickens, that you will have more of a respect for your food, and it will become easier because it's a process, and you know that you're going to be using these healthy chickens and this food to feed your family, and you'll know, and they'll know where their food comes from. Okay, all right, we're gonna try this again. I'm gonna do the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bend the knee joint and cut the legs off. And you want to do that and cut it in the joint, because if you sit here trying to hack this leg bone in half, it's gonna be very difficult and it's gonna take you a while. So don't fight the process. Just use the joints when you're trying to cut through bone, and it will be a lot easier. Okay, so the next thing, I'm gonna cut this last joint in the wing. And then I'm going to take my shears, I'm gonna flip them over, and I'm gonna cut along where the wing is attached to make it a lot easier for when the skinning process comes. That way I don't have to pull those wings off. And I just use my knife to cut in between the joint to let go, and then I use my scissors to finish cutting it off. And you want a good heavy-duty pair of kitchen shears. It goes a long way when it comes to butchering roosters or rabbits. And I'm just taking my shears and I'm running it underneath the skin all the way down, and then I'm just going to start pulling hide, whatever comes off the easiest and comes off first, I'm going with it. And if you've seen my Cornish X butchering video, you can see it's a lot easier to pull the hide on a 8-week-old broiler than it is a 16-week-old rooster. And that's just because, the more they develop, the more that hide grows to that skin. And that is the majority of his hide. And then we'll go back to this wing, work on it. And as long as we get that top pulled off, we can go back and cut the wing off from that joint there. And I'm gonna go back and redo this one, because when the wings are on there, you can't really see sometimes exactly where they connect to. But once you get the hide off, you can go back with your scissors and cut off whatever didn't come off, so you don't have to struggle with it, whatever's stuck on there. Okay, I'm gonna rinse him off real quick. The water hose. Alright, get him mostly clean. Wipe off my hands a little bit. And then we still got some cleanup to do on him here and there, which I didn't squirt him off too good, but we'll clean him up before I put him in the cooler. So I'm going to take my scissors and I am going to start cutting that, and then I'm gonna take it over. There's a gland right here on the back of his tail. I always try to cut that off, and I just cut off the start right there, and then I flip him over and then try to open this canal right here, and I try to be careful to not cut the intestines when you're doing that. And you will see where the intestines connects right there. So now he's opened up. I got a big enough hole. I can reach in there, and you want to be able to reach in and pull as much out in one swipe as you can. And then also, this is the crawl where all their food comes, and this is the esophagus. So I pulled it all out in one whack, and I keep the liver and the heart, and I'll remove the bile duct from that liver, and then here is the gizzard, and then I just reach in there and make sure. Sometimes the lungs don't come out right away. That's what the lungs look like. Get rid of that. And I will keep the lungs and heart and liver for my dogs. And then that is pretty much, he's ready to go, or he's ready to go. Just gonna go back and clean up. And some of these feathers that are still on here, if he has a few strays here and there, after he's sitting in the cooler and brined, when I clean him, I'm going to re-clean him very well after he comes on the brine. The feathers that are left on there will come off a lot easier. I just want to clean off on the inside and the outside pretty good. And that's your 16-week-old rooster. And for reference, here is the two that I have butchered so far, and I will bring you back when we have everything full and we'll talk about it. Mom. Alright, so we got one in the cooler. Okay, so we did 7 of the broiler roosters, 16-week-old. Well, I just wanted to show you, this one on the left is actually an 18-month-old black Australorp rooster. And this is one of the 16-week-old red broiler roosters. So he's got more definition on his legs. The black Australorp does. His breast is a little bit meatier, but all in all, he's not substantially bigger than the 16-week-old broiler, or red Ranger broiler, or colored Ranger, or whatever you want to call them. And so yeah, we got 7 of those in there, and one 18-month-old black Australorp rooster. And we'll be icing these down for a couple of days, and then we'll bring you back for another video on canning when we get there.